So I'd like to point out that the hymn we just sang is the lyrics, the words go back to the 5th century, probably which would be sometimes in the 400s, I don't know, early or late, but this has got to be a very old hymn, going back that far. And the music of it also is early Lutheran church, because it goes back to 1535 in a hymnal printed in Wittenberg. So very early Reformation stuff going on with the music. And you might notice this, as well as our opening hymn, both talk about the Epiphany in sort of the broad scale, not just the event of the wise men, the Gentiles first coming to see the infant Christ, but then the baptism in the Jordan River by John, the first miracle, the wedding at Cana, and and various other things. So kind of neat that our hymns cover all these things, but this is a very ancient hymn as well. So I wanted to ask the parents and children to come up for a minute before I get started with the sermon. So good morning. Happy Epiphany. Can you say that? Happy Epiphany? Happy Epiphany. Can you say that? Your mouth is full. What you got? Happy Epiphany. So Epiphany is a word we use this time of the church year, every year. It's a word that means kind of an uncovering or a showing forth of something that has been hidden before. And the Epiphany is that Jesus as Savior, the thing we celebrate today, is that he was shown or made known, or the first hymn used the word made manifest. That's another thing, another fancy word for showing something, making it known, to the Gentiles, which is the people that weren't Jewish. So to all the rest of the people in the world, this was kind of the first event of Jesus as Savior being made known to all the rest of us. And this is some artist's depiction of it. So Jesus is still pretty small here. Jesus could have been a year or up to 2 years old, because the very next verses from what we read today about the wise men coming and then going home a different way is that Herod, the mean king, wants to kill Jesus because he doesn't want anybody else to be king of the Jews. And so Jesus' mother and stepfather Joseph take him and go to Egypt. God warned them to do that, to protect the baby Jesus. But Herod, the mean king, has baby boys killed in Bethlehem because he doesn't know which one it is, because the wise men didn't go back to tell him. And so he's killing these babies, and he has baby boys up to 2 years old killed. Herod was a very mean man, a very paranoid man. He didn't want anybody else to get his power. And with the kind of paranoia that he lived with, Jesus could have been a year old. The wise men could have told him, well, we saw the star a year ago. And so he decided, I'm going to go extra and kill up to 2 years old. Or they could have said, we saw 2 years ago. We don't know. That's not part of what we find out in the Bible. But he was a very mean and paranoid man. So that's all part of the story. But what did the wise men do? What did they bring?
Myrrh, gold, and frankincense.
Myrrh, gold, and frankincense. 3 different types of gifts, all very expensive gifts. So they're giving very expensive gifts, and as you're going to hear in my sermon, these are very wise men and probably very wealthy people, and maybe even people who exercised authority and rule over part of their homeland. So they are coming, these people who are big shots in the world are coming to bow down to this baby Jesus, like a toddler, maybe 1 to 2 years old, right? That's a pretty amazing thing. Have you ever seen a big official from the government come and bow down to a baby?
No.
That's not what happens, is it? That's not normal. This is something miraculous, that God used a star to draw these people, and we're going to hear about the messages that they had probably received earlier from the Old Testament that caused them to want to come and believe that this was the new king and that this was a gift from God, and they wanted to worship him. Pretty amazing stuff, huh?
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to hear in the sermon in a little more detail. But thanks for coming up today to think about the Epiphany. Jesus, our Savior, being made known to the Gentiles, which is all the rest of us. Because most of us probably aren't Jewish. You never know what's in your background, but we're the Gentiles if we're not Jewish. So they were the first people like us to come to worship Jesus. Isn't that cool? I think it is. Yeah. All right. Thank you for coming up today.